What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I have another review for you guys, and it's on this boot right here, the Skechers Razor. Now it's been a while since I did a video on the first impressions video on this boot, and I have been wearing this boot like on and off just because a lot of boots have come in, and so I kind of wore the F50s, the Vapors, and other boots before this one, and so it took me a while just to test them out, but I have been wearing them. And this boot, I don't know, I have like mixed opinions about these, and I'll let you guys know in this video. But first, we'll just talk about the upper. Now, this upper is a positive. It's so soft, nice and pliable. It feels really nice on feet. It's on the thin side, but it has a little bit of like natural paddingness to it. So it's a barefoot touch on the ball, but not a super barefoot touch, if that makes any sense. It has a little bit of like, I don't know, like dampness to it. If it's not super thin, it just has a little bit of like this natural padding to it, which feels nice, to be honest. Sometimes a super thin boot can be a little bit annoying just because of that pain feel, and this one you don't really get that pain sensation, which is nice. So this was nice and soft, and it does have these little bit of like a dimple texturing. You guys can see right there, but honestly it still feels pretty slick on the ball. This doesn't really add that much texture or any grip to it, so it's not like super like noticeable on feet, if I'm being completely honest. And here in the midfoot we do have this different material here, and it's a bit thinner and it feels a little bit more structured. There isn't really any give to this upper compared to the foot. Here in the toe box, this upper I feel like has a little bit of stretch to it. That's kind of a good thing in terms of comfort, just because it forms to the shape of your foot. But in terms of performance, which I'll talk about a little bit later, it kind of just lacks a little bit here in performance in the toe box. But here in the midfoot, it is a bit thinner, and it has a nice like transition point. This fused like layer here, I don't really feel it, and it kind of feels like a seamless transition point, which is good. Skechers did a really good job here in blending these two materials. And here in the midfoot, we do have a knitted material, which feels pretty good. So overall, the upper, it feels pretty good. It's thin, but not overly thin. It has a little bit of padding to it. Now, in terms of performance, like this boot is okay in terms of performance. Like the midfoot here feels pretty nice and locked in because of this like different material that is like a different like mesh material. And it is thinner, but it doesn't stretch whatsoever. So like all the structure here feels really nice and locked in. Here in the toe box, like I said, because the upper is a bit softer, there is a little bit more movement here in this area of the foot. Like when I'm cutting, I feel like just my toes or this part of the foot is sliding a little bit. It's not a lot, but it's just when I'm like cutting like very hard. In other instances, I don't really feel it. So that's just something that I noticed that I just wanted to share with you guys. But the midfoot honestly feels really nice and locked in. Just like the toe box area feels a little bit weird. I did mention in my playtest that I did notice some heel movement here in the heel, and that like it's still there. If I tie my cleats very tightly and then wear grip socks, it is like less noticeable, but I feel like it shouldn't really happen, and that's mainly just because of the padding in the heel. Like the padding in the heel is, I feel like it's not enough in order for your heel to be fully locked in, and that's the reason why it kind of slips up and down. Just because you guys can see here, like the padding doesn't really stick out all that much, and so I feel like if they had a bit of a thicker padding, it would just feel a bit nicer and it'll just lock in your heel a bit better. But for the most part, like it's okay, it's not bad. It's just I do find that there's a little bit of slippage when I'm not wearing grip socks. In terms of the comfort and the shape, I actually think this is a really comfortable boot, and I really like the shape as well. The shape kind of leans towards like more neutral side, even though it is like a speed boot and it does look kind of like narrow. It does fit like a bit wider compared to other boots on the market. It's not super tight, and it has like a nice like fit. It like wraps your foot really nicely without squeezing it. And I feel like people that have a wider foot like myself can fit in these pretty comfortably. Like I said, I do have a wider foot and I'm able to fit in these, and they didn't hurt me whatsoever. Usually I get some pinching here, but no, these feel completely fine. And I just love the shape in the toe box area, just because it's not like a pointed shape. You guys can see here it's more like a round shape, and so my toes, like they don't feel like they're just tight, they just feel like natural, I guess. And I really like that, just because so many like companies make their toe box super narrow here and they kind of come to a point, but Skechers does a really nice like job with the shape, and I just really like that. I really find that super comfortable. Now moving on with the sole plate. Now this is somewhere else where I had an issue, and at first when I was wearing them they felt fine, but then kind of wearing them a bit more, I did notice a little bit of like pressure here on this stud specifically, mainly on my left, but this stud right here, I felt a lot of pressure, and it was kind of like jabbing me. You guys can see here if I don't know it. I don't know if it makes any sense, but like when I was like planting, like the insole would move inwards, and so it would kind of like jab my foot, and I just found a little bit of pressure here on this stud, and it was just really annoying just because I had to switch cleats because the stud pressure was too much. But I will say I did wear these on AG, so it could be because of that reason. Obviously, these aren't meant for AG, so that stud pressure maybe doesn't happen on FG, but I can't test that just because I don't have an FG field near me, so I can't go and test out boots on FG. But on AG, I did find a little bit of stud pressure. But other times when I did wear this boot, I just didn't feel the stud pressure. So that it's just super weird. I'm not exactly sure why. Some days I have stud pressure and other days I don't. And the sole plate itself, like I don't know, I just don't like the sole plate. It just feels kind of flimsy. It feels too soft here in the forefoot. Like I don't know, I just don't like it. It just feels too thin. Like the material used for this sole plate just feels kind of thin, and I don't know, it just feels a little bit cheap to me. Like the plastics used, I just don't. I'm not exactly sure why I get that feeling. Like it performs okay. Like I don't mind the performance. Like I said, I don't mind the flexible sole plate, but just something about like this sole plate being like thin, and maybe that's why I feel that stud pressure kind of bothers me. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm not a big fan of the sole plate. And here they have a carbon infused material, which honestly I don't think it does anything. Like the stability is fine. I feel like regardless, I feel like this should have been implemented here in the toe box, but maybe they could change that in the future. And in terms of the stud pattern, they're all chevron studs. It does have a good amount of traction. It's super aggressive. So you should only really wear these on FG. I wear them on AG obviously because that's the only pitch I have available to me. So the sole plate is okay, and I feel like a lot of you guys will like it, but for me, I just don't really like it as much. So overall, the Skechers Razor is a solid boot. Out of the two boots that they have right now, I feel like the SKX, the first one I did a review on, is my favorite. This one, like it's not a bad boot, but it does some things that kind of bother me, like the heel, the sole plate. So I'd rather just wear the SKX, or I'd just rather wear a different speed boot, to be honest. Like for me, this doesn't like beat the Vapor, it doesn't beat the F50, it doesn't beat the Puma Ultra, and or the New Balance Furon V7 Plus. Honestly, I think those are a bit better than this boot right here. And like I said, it's not a bad boot. I just feel like it's just an average boot. Now it doesn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't do anything like better than other boots out on the market right now. But I guess if you do have like a wider foot and you want more like a comfortable speed boot vibe, then try the Skechers Razor. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you're notified for future videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.